The guest house was isolated in every sense, a lone structure enveloped by towering trees and vines, deep within a lush, subtropical forest in rural India. Even the faint paths to nearby villages seemed barely discernible, as if nature itself was warning outsiders to turn back. The silence felt alive, pressing in, as if the forest was holding its breath. That evening, the interns gathered around the dimly lit dining table, their laughter mixing with the flickering shadows cast by the single lantern. Their project supervisor, a man of quiet resilience and hard-won wisdom, looked on, his face thoughtful. When asked about his years in the field, his expression darkened, and he began recounting a story that would haunt the night. Stepping into the cool, damp night, M felt the vastness of the wilderness around him, an unending darkness that stretched out to meet the stars. He struck a match, the sudden light stark against the thick shadows. The silence wrapped around him, broken only by the rustling of unseen creatures among the trees, reminding him how small and alone he truly was. But that stillness shattered in an instant. A faint, eerie giggle, high-pitched and far too close, echoed from somewhere beyond the trees. M's heartbeat quickened as he scanned the shifting shadows. The sound was followed by hurried footsteps, light and childlike, disappearing deeper into the forest. His unease grew into dread. Compelled by a mix of duty and curiosity, M ventured into the forest, each step feeling heavier than the last. The forest seemed to close in around him, branches like twisted fingers reaching out, and the air grew colder with every step. His flashlight cast feeble beams that barely cut through the thick foliage, leaving everything beyond in utter darkness. Then, he stopped, eyes locked on a figure perched above him on a low branch, dangling casually, as though waiting for him. It wore a wide, unsettling grin, the kind that hinted at dark secrets and unfathomable cruelty. Its eyes, pale and gleaming, pierced through him with a gaze that seemed alive with malice. Before M could react, the creature moved, stretching its thin, sinewy arms toward another branch, almost as if preparing to descend. Its body swung back and forth with an unnatural grace, those empty, lifeless eyes never leaving his. He could feel its hunger, its intent, pressing down on him like a weight. Finally, terror gripped his legs, and he turned, sprinting back toward the guest house. Branches scratched at his skin. The shadows felt closer, darker, as though the forest itself was conspiring to keep him there. The only sound he could hear was his own pounding heart, and a distant, frustrated growl from the depths of the trees. Morning light brought little comfort. Feverish and weakened, M lay on his cot, haunted by the memory. The forest felt like a distant nightmare, but the terror was real, lingering like a shadow over his mind. He avoided the window, fearing he might catch a glimpse of the figure waiting just beyond the trees. The caretaker, seasoned by a lifetime spent among these hills, listened carefully, his eyes narrowing as he recognized the signs. His voice was low, almost reverent. As he spoke the word, Vetala, his gaze was distant, as though reliving his own encounters, and his tone carried a weight that made M's blood run cold. With a sense of urgency, the caretaker handed M a rudraksha bead, rough and weathered from years of use. The ancient bead was strung on a simple thread, its presence somehow comforting, like an ember of warmth in a dark room. The caretaker told him it had power, a protection against the spirit that had haunted him. Before M left, he gathered his interns, his face pale and solemn as he recounted the ordeal one last time. He warned them, his voice barely above a whisper, "Never go into the forest alone after dark. There are things here that shouldn't be disturbed." As his voice trailed off, silence fell, and an uneasy chill settled over the guest house as night descended once again.